Hmm. Welcome everybody for another talk on relationships. Today I have Alif is
I
my co-host. How you doing?
good, how are you?
Good, good. And today we're gonna talking about mistakes, right?
Mistake.
I had a few mistakes today.
What was it? What do you do?
Today,
Yeah.
just technical stuff, setting up the talk.
That's not your mistake.
We did make mistakes as a team. Ooh, that's deep, right? Okay, stick around. We have a very good talk for you. All right, so we're gonna be talking today about mistake. How would you like to start? What is a good start for you?
I was hoping that you get the ball rolling.
Me get the ball rolling. Okay, okay. I guess we can say something about anybody would like to have a thought. First thought comes to your mind about mistakes.
In relationships.
General. Well, relationship is definitely people can make a lot of mistakes in a relationship, right? Cheating. That's a mistake. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's the word?
What considers cheating?
What
Wait, no, no,
consider?
no. He has a thought. Let him
That's a
finish.
whole nother kind of
I
worms.
know, right? That's a different talk, isn't it?
But what inspired me to talk about this topic is because I was listening to this podcast about mistakes. It's called Hidden Brain and made me like reflect on every single some situations in my life, encounters with people who have been going through the same problems.
Mm,
And when someone tells them, or I tell them, or their therapist tells them something, or parents tell them something, they won't change. They will do the same thing and then they will complain about it. So it got me thinking, like why won't you learn from your mistakes? What makes you think that you are right and you know everything? I always believe that I'm, like the next person. I'm not better than the next person. The next person is not better than me. There's something I can learn from you. There's something you can learn from me.
oh yeah.
Right. So I think I think that at admitting acknowledging your failures bruises your ego.
Mm,
you know
yeah,
and and,
definitely.
and you want
To
to
many
protect your
people.
self-image,
Mm,
like what you said earlier.
mm,
It's about self-image, right? So when someone tells you you're failing at something, you're doing something wrong, it hurts your
it's like
ego. Yeah.
scratches your.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
interpreted as the reflection of yourself. So if someone says you do something wrong, you immediately like, I'm a failure.
I'm a failure. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Anyone would like to add to that? People from the bank.
I agree. It makes sense. Like, why would you just acknowledge your mistake and change? But what's the reason people are not changing even though they know it's wrong? Like, they are doing a mistake.
Mm, mm. So we have an agreement there that people this it's really important for them to acknowledge and try to fix it. I guess we can conclude is that the fact of the matter is when you make a mistake, that is the indicator that you need to reach out to fix the mistake.
That's true.
So that's where we need to rewire our beliefs instead of saying my mistake means I'm a failure, like I mentioned earlier. We need to reconnect mistakes to mean I need help.
Yes. I think people, I mean, it's it's okay to fail sometimes, to make mistakes, but after each of them you have to learn something. If not, it's just like, what's the saying? fool on me, twice shame on me.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Something like
Is
that.
that
Yeah.
a song?
What? A song? No. So
Could be.
what I'm saying is like people often overlook the value of failing because it doesn't necessarily mean that you fail one thing for one time and you're complete failure. It could be seen as it's like um information.
Mm,
It's feedback. It's telling you what you need to change to
yeah.
perform better next time.
I really like what you said. It's the value of making a mistake.
Yeah.
There's a lot of value there. It's an opportunity, really. It's not a negative thing. It's a positive thing that we make mistakes. Well, the fact of the matter is that mistakes are inevitable.
Yep.
We're not perfect.
It's part of life.
Yeah, mistakes happen, and that's something that we all need to not just accept, but we need to believe in. That's a part of our belief that mistakes do happen. We cannot avoid mistakes. Mistakes are there to happen for their purpose that they have value to add to our lives. Imagine all the mistakes that happened. Like we can talk about the ancient, the event. So we want to talk about the space NASA program that the shuttle was it called
Yeah.
Challenger. I mean, they learned from that mistake that cost life, cost a lot of money, cost all that. But we learned a lot from that. And it hasn't been until later in Colombia, but that's a different mistake, right? So there are different mistakes that we're learning different things, and now we see X space that they're actually landing the rockets and they're making
Yeah.
advancement from people's mistakes. Well, our lives is no different. Relationship is no different. Now, cheating is a different topic that we talked about. I wouldn't say that's a mistake. I was like, oh, oops, I cheated on you. I'm so sorry. It's like we don't do it that way, but but it's different. What I'm trying to say is that the mistake we're talking about is like the mistake is that it happens with good intentions, meaning that we do mistakes even though we intended it to do it right, but there was something about what we did. We miscalculated, we overlooked, we did. So, cheating, I would say, is intentional.
Oops, I accidentally cheated.
We drown.
But that wouldn't be the mistake would be being drunk, not the cheating. But anyway, that's a good topic. Maybe we can talk about. The camera also stopped again. My goodness. Oh shoot! Talking about mistakes. Okay, so it seems like my app here shut down for some reason. I don't know why. Let me try to revive it, and let's try to learn from our mistakes, right? So we can learn something. Yeah, that's. Are you buying one? New.
14 Pro Max
Yeah, you can transfer to me. I'll buy you.
Sure.
in USD.
I'll transfer you the order. Okay, it's gonna take a little longer, but we can continue the discussion. So one other thing that you mentioned earlier about the feedback, and I would like to argue that if the feedback was discouraging, people will be less likely to admit mistakes. Meaning that if the feedback is scolding and negative and judging and name calling and all that stuff, yeah, it would make anybody feel like a failure. What do you think of that? So what I'm trying to say is that the feedback has a role on how people see mistakes.
Okay.
The feedback can come from people, can come from environment, can come from from self, right? So that feedback is very important. So tell me more. What do you agree about?
Some communities, I've noticed how we are taught from a younger age that you're supposed to be perfect. And to be perfect means to not make any mistakes.
Hmm.
And if you make mistakes, it means the society or the people are going to look at you differently as a person who made mistake. So that keeps on adding to you, and every single time you make a mistake, you tell yourself, oh, you've made a mistake, that means you're a failure.
Mm.
So you do not see the value of seeking help from others when you're facing a difficulty, and you look down on when others are seeking help from others.
Mm. Mm. So they're like they're failures, and therefore they're asking for help. That mean they're not worthy,
Right.
and there are lesser people. But here I am doing it all by myself,
Yeah.
and I'm not getting anybody's help. But they don't know that they're actually making a lot of mistakes, and that's because of the feedback is not coming as productive, as positive.
That's true.
And you know what? If we talk about like in the business and the organizations, this costs companies tons of money. You see, if you talk about from a project management perspective or any kind of operation in a business, there's something that we do is in relationship to measuring cost and budgeting for any project or any task that we have. There is something called um, the cost of repairs. The cost of repairs are more than double the cost of the task itself. Meaning that if I made a task, if I did a task and it was wrong, it would cost twice as much. So I'd pay 3 times for the task for it to get it right if I had a mistake. So therefore, we learn that avoiding the mistake is much more cost effective than responding to mistakes, than repairing mistakes. And if there is a mistake that was not reported because the environment is inappropriate or negative, well, guess what? The mistake goes untold and they launched Challenger. And that's exactly what happened to Challenger. They launched it and it exploded because somebody didn't want to take the blame for it, as I recall. Good. Any other thoughts? So to recap, basically, one of the most important that we want to highlight on and capitalize on is that mistakes are opportunities. There's a value in mistakes. And guess what? There's something called we are error focused learning. We learn from errors. So if the upbringing was seeing mistakes and errors as a way to learn, then everybody would be okay to make mistakes and to say that I made a mistake. The problem is when that same mistake repeats. That's a problem. So the self-image you mentioned.
Yeah, I think it takes like what's the word? Self-awareness, humility. Like
Sure.
you lower your ego to
To being human.
being human to just admit yes I do mistakes, because there's a lot of people who like they make mistakes, and when you point it out they either like lash out at you or they just like completely avoid the conversation,
They just block you.
and then nothing gets solved.
Why are you picking on me? Right? They kind of like they take it personal that you're pointing out something that they could improve.
And this is what is it called? Sour grape effect. It's from this. Have you ever heard of the sour grape effect? It's like we have a strong desire to protect our self-esteem, that we're willing to change our views about how much we want to succeed in order to avoid negative feedback. It's like there's a story behind the sour grape. Why is it called sour grape effect? It's about something about a fox reaching out for a fruit or something that you try, but then you fail, and then you change your thinking instead. Like I didn't want it in the first place, in order to avoid the fact that you just can't reach it. You fail to do that. You know.
Yeah. And that failure is gonna. Oh, we have the camera back. Okay, great. Yeah. And that is coming from how we view what a failure is, right? So if we change that belief, then we can make mistakes and learn from our mistakes. Because when we learn from our mistakes, we will not make the mistake again. right? So that's really important. All right. So one thing also is that the mindset. So we talked about feedback. Another thing is internal to us within ourselves, the mindset, like you mentioned earlier. If I see it as a failure, therefore I'm reluctant to admit it. I'm reluctant to see it as a positive thing because it is my image. But if I have the mindset that this is opportunity to grow,
Yeah.
and that is the mindset that we need as human because we're not perfect. As a matter of fact, since we are babies or children, when we start walking, how did we learn how to walk? How many mistakes did we do? How many times we fall? Countless. How many times? How many people have a bicycle in their lives? You bought a bicycle,
Yeah.
and how many times did you fall off
Maybe.
with the training wheels? So we are. That's who we are. And they actually. I mean, speaking of making learning from our mistakes. That's the artificial intelligence industry, the AI. It's coming from learning, and they have the same concept of learning. When,
Trial and
like, you
error.
look at robots who are equipped with AI engine or AI algorithm or logic, you will see that the robot will learn from the tip, and then they will learn from it. And the more they experience, the more they will learn, and they will not make mistakes. Now, it's easy for a robot because the robot doesn't have a self image, doesn't have emotions, doesn't have these worries and embedded things that are from childhood, these wrong beliefs. So, therefore, the robot is feel okay to admit their mistakes. That's why they're dangerous. Okay, so any other thoughts? Anything that we need to take a note of about mistakes? So, therefore, I have a question. If the person has that mindset that mistakes are negative, I'm a bad person, I'm a failure, I'm this, I'm that. So, what do we need to tell this person? What can you do? Or what can we tell this person to do so they would be okay to accept themselves as mistake making person?
So most mostly they think, they think that, it's like doing making mistakes is a bad thing, right? But it's not necessarily a bad thing. So I think how you change, not change, at least like try to change someone's um way, that if the person is thinking that way, is to, like, make that person feel welcome to just just do just do, you know
Hmm.
and
Just
as
do as in what?
just whatever you intend to do, like sports or studies or work or trying to talk to a girl, just do. But if you fail, you don't, like, be so hard on yourself.
Hmm.
You think about it, you reflect on it, and you change. You do better next time. And if you still fail next time, then try to do something else
Something
until
different.
something works.
Hmm. Try
Like,
something new.
yeah,
Hmm.
because
Yeah. If I may, I mean, you just give me the thought of self-compassion,
self-compassion.
to be kind to yourself that you made a mistake. And you don't want to repeat your mom's voice, your dad's voice, your teacher's voice. You, why. All these are negative things that really make us feel withdraw or withdraw away from and have that fear of trying again because it's sour grape.
I think I would also suggest to, seek professional help.
Well, that is definitely true because sometimes we say here in the talk is like this is one thing you can do, this is one thing you can do, but when people try it, it's not really easy
It's not easy.
because and the same thing is like you can't read a book and you can be only all overnight you'll be positive about mistakes. These things really, that's why therapy works and counseling works, because it does take time. And that's why it works. And the fact that it works, giving it the right time, it's worth the investment, worth the time. Yes.
Add on to that point. So what I made also, like, one way that I always allow someone to admit that, yeah, we all make mistakes, is to give them something to relate to. For example, when I'm in a conversation, I said, I want to point out a mistake. I said, I also do this mistake. I relate to this. So it's very normal. It normalize making mistakes. So that when people don't see you like on your high horse trying to condemn that, more like we're in a situation together, in the same
Yep.
boat together, and we're trying to get this boat to a location together.
Mm.
Not just, oh, no, you are wrong. No, it's more like, yeah, I made this mistake a lot of times as well. It's okay. Normalize it. What I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Any other thoughts? Yeah. I thought I saw you raising your hand. Sure.
Maybe I could say people who make mistakes means they tried, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they are definitely better than people who never tried at first.
Very good.
So
So the fact that they tried, something to commend themselves that they tried. Mm. Very good. Yeah, I like that. And most of the time we have this negative connotation, negative connection with mistakes is because we look at what?
The consequences.
The consequences, the output. And if we didn't get the output, then I'm a failure. But we need to acknowledge and commend the
Input.
effort, the accomplishment. The accomplishment, and it could be you have done the task, but it failed. But the accomplishment is that you did do the task. Now you go learn and do it better. And so what? And that's something that we talked about earlier. I think you did. It's just normalizing. So we normalize the mistake, but we also normalize being good. One thing that I just thought of, how many people saw their parents make mistakes?
Oh yeah.
One person, two, three. But the parents admitted that they made a mistake.
Oh no.
That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. How many people really?
Yeah.
Maybe you should be hosting this. Okay, tell us about this. So the parent made a mistake and he or she admitted.
Mhm.
How often did that happen?
quite often.
Okay, so the ratio of mistakes and them admitting the mistakes, is it 1-to-1? Or is it 50%? Or is it sometimes in a blue moon?
So 50.
60-50. Mean them they admitting that they made a mistake. That's very powerful because that's the environment that you really want to grow in. If you never saw your parents make a mistake and admitting that they made a mistake, you never learn how to do it. If you don't have that environment, and again, we're learning from observing, we're learning from our surroundings. So if our surrounding never gave us that opportunity to learn, we'll never learn how to manage mistakes. So that's another thing that's in addition. So that's part of the environment, but actually it's an experience. Whenever experienced or seeing someone experiencing mistakes and they came out of it successful. So a successful example. Right. So how do you guys want to wrap it up? Because we need to wrap it up.
Mistakes are inevitable in human life.
The mistakes are inevitable
In human life.
in humans' life.
And
Yeah.
making a mistake means you've tried
Yeah.
and that you're learning.
You've tried and you are learning. Yeah.
You should not be afraid of people calling you names or labeling or being embarrassed publicly because you should focus on self-improvement regardless of what people say.
Yeah. And let's try to do that without using the should, because the should is putting a lot of expectation on us. We can just say that we need to develop the ability to maybe distinguish our actions from our emotions or differentiate the two, because we can still feel maybe not as confident when we make a mistake, but that doesn't mean that that's who you are, right? That emotion doesn't define you. And you can feel like, embarrassed, but that's not because you're an embarrassment. You can feel like you failed, but that doesn't mean that you are a failure. It's different things, right? But feeling that you failed or thinking that you failed, that doesn't mean that we stop and believe in that and that's the end. No, we just focus on the effort and we continue. All right. Any last thoughts, Alif?
This is once this one guy said to me, because I was hesitant, I was like scared, and like about a lot of things, and what he said was, if you don't try, it's like 0% of anything changing. If you try, at least it's 50-50 chance.
Yeah,
If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then it's fine.
that is very true. That is very true. All right. And we can wrap it up here. And it seems like the camera gave up on us again. I guess it's not the camera actually. It's the application. It's the application that I need to learn from mistaking buying that application. Okay, well, until the next talk, everybody, I hope you have happy relationships and stay happy.